Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Gita ki, Premanandi. Hey Krishna, Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. So I'm going to read a couple of verses from the Bhagavad Gita. This is from the 12th chapter, Devotional Service. This is what we're practicing devotional service. There's the devotional service of the love of God, devotional service practice. Pretty much we're all practicing. So I'm going to start with text number 8. Maeva mana adasva maevudim niveshaya nivashisyasi maeva ataputam nasamchayaha. Translation. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt. So I'll read the purport. It's not that long. And then I'm going to read the next verse too. Because after this purport, I'll discuss it a little bit. One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane. He lives in Krishna. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these edibles, and the devotee becomes Krishna-eyes by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so, although this is the process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literature. So, to quickly go over this, Krishna saying, just fix your mind upon me. Now, most of us, we can possibly fix our mind upon Krishna, but for a short time. The Supreme Personality of God, and engage all your intelligence in me. So this is hard for most of us, very difficult. Always be thinking of Krishna and using all of our intelligence only for him. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. So I like this part. Sometimes we hear devotees say, when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna's on your tongue. Here, Prabhupada, Krishna and also Radha, Krishna's internal potency on your tongue. But he says, for the devotee, the holy name of the Lord and the Lord are none different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, so not necessarily someone's a non-devotee, Krishna's not going to be on their tongue, or maybe, but at least specifically for a devotee. Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. And then when he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these edibles. So I'm going to go back to the very end of this purport, which is very close to the end. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so, although this is the process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature. So people who don't do these things, who don't accept these things, they can't believe that this is actually happening. They think it's your imagination. For instance, we make an offering. We close the curtains, we offer something to deities, and then there, someone may be expecting now it should be gone, but it's still there. Krishna can take it and he can leave it at the same time. He can eat it just by eating, by seeing it. So one way we know is by taking prasadam. We become purified. By following this process, we become purified. We become free from a lot of the previous desires we used to have, or they become diminished. So when he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these edibles, and the devotee becomes Krishna-eyes by eating the remnants. So just by eating them, you actually, Prabhupada said, at least on one occasion, probably more than once, we're eating our way back to Krishna, back to Godhead. But just by taking prasadam, he said so many things about prasadam. One time, I don't think of his name. Jayananda was the president of San Francisco Temple. And to maintain the temple, he would go out and he'd drive a taxi cab and make money and give all the money to the temple. So that way you can maintain the temple. This is the very beginning. And when they make an offering, they'd save a plate for him, but then somebody would eat his prasadam. And they did this often, and he's working like anything, trying to maintain the temple. Actually, he is maintaining the temple. He was very special devotee. He's, you see the Rath-Yatra cards, his picture is on the Rath-Yatra card. Prabhupada said that we should have this picture on every Rath-Yatra card. So he asked Srila Prabhupada, can you please tell the devotees, because they keep taking my prasadam, not to take my prasadam. And Srila Prabhupada says, I can tell them, not to eat meat, fish, or eggs, not to take intoxication, not to have illicit sex, not to gamble, but I can't tell them not to take prasadam. Another time with prasadam, when devotees were eating with Srila Prabhupada, several, I don't know how many devotees were eating, but they were sitting right around Prabhupada. Prabhupada And one devotee took a sweet ball that he was saving for at the end, and put it, on his plate, put one, and he's eating everything else. And he's going to get to that sweet ball. And a devotee next to him took the sweet ball and ate it. And then he says, Srila Prabhupada, he ate my sweet ball. And Srila Prabhupada said, I see he's making very nice advancement. So prasadam is always transcendental. And you can always take prasadam. You can't, there's no rules or regulations about it. You can't take prasadam. But the effects of the prasadam is we actually do become purified. And there's other instances of people who were not very favorable. And then they gave them prasadam, and then they became really nice and favorable, like at the airport. People working at the airport, they give them some prasadam. And then they, before that, they're breaking up sales, and then they change. Prasadam, Prabhupada also said, is our secret weapon. If you give people prasadam, they'll benefit. And if an animal eats prasadam, will take a human birth in its next life. So now maybe people don't believe it, but we see this food changes people. It changes us and it changes others. And so we of course do all of these things and offer our food and we take the prasad. So this verse again is just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of God, and engage all your intelligence in me, thus you will live with me always without a doubt. So before I go to the next verse is the main one that I wanted to discuss. But does anyone have any questions or comments on what I said already? Yes.
Isn't overeating prasadam bad?
Not spiritually.
Okay.
But definitely has. I'll tell you a story of myself in this temple when I first moved into this temple in 1971. It was on North Beacon Street. And I understood and I accepted that prasadam is spiritual. And I thought you can't get full by eating prasadam. And I ate as much as I could and I never got full. Then after several Sundays, it's a Sunday feast, and that was like the best part. We didn't actually eat so much during it, not so much prasadam. But I remember eating, and I got full, and I fell against the wall like, I'm full. I didn't know you could become full by eating prasadam because I thought it's spiritual. And, I remember when people wanted to take, not take it because it's fattening or something. They said, no, it's spiritual. There's no calories at all. But there is certainly, overeating is that it could be detrimental to spiritual life also. But explains it from the tongue to the belly, to the genitals, and you become agitated. So it's not good. So you don't want to do that. But prasadam is transcendental, and you shouldn't overeat. But he also said, young boys cannot eat too much, and old men cannot eat too little. So figure out where you're at. Decide what you're allowed to do with prasadam. Any other questions on that?
I have a question. So with prasadam, right? How can we sometimes with prasadam for me lately, I feel like I want to be more healthy, but then I food fried food, and my mind starts to judge, right? My mind starts to think, oh, this is unhealthy. I'm not having prasadam. So how can we talk to our minds and like?
Well, okay, I would say if you have a problem, sometimes you have some stomach problems, you can't eat fried foods, and you should avoid it for your health wise, because you want to keep your body healthy and fit so you can engage in Krishna service. But if you're just not doing it because you're, kind of a fanatic health thing, just give up that. I never had sugar. Not never, but before being a devotee for over a year, I didn't have any sugar. And then I found out the devotees ate sugar. Then I ate sugar. And I accepted whatever the devotees did because I knew they were right. This was the right path. Whatever they say is right. But there are reasons why you shouldn't do certain things because you can't digest it. Like, for instance, like when you get older, hard, spicy foods are really difficult. So you gotta, you have to eat accordingly. But if it's not affecting you, you have no problem. You digest it. Just that you're hearing from too many health gurus. Then just take it. It's Krishna's mercy. That's all. Look at it as Krishna's mercy, and don't have to think about anything else. And then when it's time for you to, to watch what you're eating, Krishna will let you know that you're having some stomach problems. Sometimes people become vegan because they have problems with dairy, as devotees. So you have to do what you have to do. But if you don't have any of these problems, just take it as prasadam, Krishna's mercy. Okay, anything else? Right. Okay. This is text 9, chapter 12. Atachitam samadartum nashaknusi mai stiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichaptum dhananjaya. So you can repeat the word for ata. If therefore, chitam, mind, samadatun, to fix, na, not, shaknosi, you are able, mai, on me, stiram, steadily, abhyasa yogena, by the practice of devotional service. Tata, then, mum, me, icha, desire, up to get, Dhananjaya, O winner of wealth, Arjuna. Translation, my dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you can fix your mind upon me without deviation, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti-Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So who here can fix their mind on Krishna without deviation? You can, but you're pretty good. Okay. But most of us, our mind goes to something else. Even Prabhupada said, when you're chanting japa, why is it that your mind goes to something else? First of all, has anyone had that experience? Does anyone not have that experience in chanting japa that their mind goes to something else? Anyone who chants japa, unless you're a pure devotee, your mind goes to something else. And Prabhupada asked this devotee, why does that happen? Why does your mind do that? And Prabhupada said, it's because you desire to forget Krishna, so he helped you forget it. Krishna caused all remembrance and forgetfulness. And if we want to remember him, he would certainly help us to remember him. And if we want to forget him, he allows us to forget him. But that's devotional service in practice, which is where we are at. We're practicing devotional service. We're not on the pure platform of always thinking of Krishna, but we're practicing to think of Krishna. And even in practice, we're not fixed, but that's okay. Because by doing that, you will come to that platform of always thinking of Krishna. You have to start somewhere. So some people might not want to chant Hare Krishna because when they chant Hare Krishna, their mind wanders. They think of so many other things. So it's an offense. It's an offense to be inattentive while chanting. It's one of the 10 offenses. But still, you should chant, even if you're inattentive, just to keep practicing, keep trying. And you might say, I'm committing an offense, I shouldn't do it. But by doing it, you'll get purified of that offense. There's no other way you're going to get purified of that offense. So you have to keep chanting Hare Krishna. No. Yes? I can't hear you.
I said, I want to respond to what you said about.
Yeah, I know. Right. That's what I heard.
Think about Krishna, think about that every moment. Is asking myself, who's the thinker that thinks the thought, and knowing the thinker that thinks the thought is Krishna, and that way I'm able to distinguish the thoughts of the false ego and the thoughts of Krishna, and know which one I'm more transcendental and eternal towards my nature. And I was going to think about that, to stay within the consciousness of Krishna at all times.
It's actually part and parcel of Krishna. Yes. Okay. So we have a problem here. We cannot fix our mind upon Krishna without deviation. Then what you should do, and many of us are doing, many of us are attempting to do it, many of us are driving and starting to do it, follow the regulated principles of Bhakti-Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain it. So we're doing this. We're making that effort. You know, there are certain principles that we should be avoiding, certain things to do and certain things not to do. So we may not be doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, and we may not be avoiding everything that we should be avoiding, but we have to start somewhere. Like there's 4 regulated principles, you know, no meat, fish, or eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. So we should try to do these things as much as we, you know, to avoid these things. And then we should chant 16 rounds of japa minimum every day. And we should make ourselves do that every day. Now, you may not be able to do 16 rounds. So then do 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 4 rounds, whatever you can do. But start making the effort to come to this platform of following the regulated principles of devotional service. So in this verse, 2 different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by transcendental love. So he has this attachment, pure love for Krishna, always thinking of Krishna. When you love somebody, you know, especially in the very beginning, you can't help but think of them. You think of them, you know, of course, in the material world, the love, it may not, it's not pure. Most likely it's lust, but there's some affection, and you think of the person, you want to do something for them. But this is in a mode of passion. But pure mode of goodness is loving Krishna and always thinking of Krishna and what I can do for Krishna. I just recently read something and I thought about it for a while because I couldn't quite understand it, where Prabhupada is at, he's talking to parents of a devotee. The child, the devotee man or boy was there. You know, we say boy, it's like an adult, but and Kirtanananda Swami was there, and Prabhupada, they complained to Prabhupada that you know, one thing they found the fault with is that you're not ambitious, not you ambitious, but the devotees have no ambition. And Prabhupada's answer was, yes, devotee is not ambitious. The devotee is not ambitious. And Kirtanananda, because the parents were like, why is this? That's not good to not be ambitious. So Kirtanananda said, what Prabhupada means is he has no material ambition, but he has spiritual ambition. Prabhupada said, no, he has no ambition. All he wants to do is humbly serve Krishna. That's all. So I'm thinking of Prabhupada. All he wanted to do was humbly serve Krishna, but he's doing anything Krishna wants. He's not like he's ambitious that he wants to make the whole world. He's trying to make the whole world Krishna conscious, but that's because Krishna wants him to. But he's just a humble servant of Krishna, whatever Krishna wants. Even when he came here, you can make me a success or failure. Right here in Boston, he wrote this. As you like. I'm your puppet. You make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. So he didn't care whether he was such a success or not. He tried, he made the effort. But the results are up to Krishna, and he just wants to serve Krishna. Just do some humble service for Krishna. So it's hard because many of us have big desires. We want to do big things for Krishna. But we should just want to do whatever Krishna wants us to do. If he wants us to clean the bathroom, we should clean the bathroom, whatever he wants. We shouldn't think one service is better than another, anything. Krishna doesn't make that distinction. Ramachandra didn't make the distinction when there was I'm not sure, there's different, people say different things, but a spider or some a squirrel or something throwing in little pebbles into the water. And Hanuman said, oh, move aside, because he's throwing big boulders in to make a bridge. They're making this bridge to Sri Lanka, and the rocks are all floating. They wrote a Hare Krishna on it, or Ram on it. And Ram asked this, whatever, a squirrel, a spider, or anybody else has any other ideas what it would be. But he asked him to move aside because I'm throwing in these big boulders. And Lord Ramachandra said, no, he's pleasing me just as much as you. So you don't have to do big service to please Krishna, just humble service. Just do whatever Krishna wants. So there's, I don't know how I got to that. Two different processes of bhakti. The first applies to one who has actually developed attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality, by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. So that's where we are at. There's this process to come to that platform of pure devotion where you're always attached to Krishna with love. Bhakti-Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti-Yoga, these senses can become purified. And in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. So we purify our senses by engaging our senses in serving Krishna. We have our senses. We have 5 senses. Then there is mind, it's a 6th sense, the 6th within, the sense within. But we engage them. We use our hands. We can do so much service for Krishna. We play instruments. We perform, mop the floor, cook. So many things we can use. Then there's our tongue. We can use the Prabhupada says we do 2 things with the tongue. We taste and we vibrate. So we vibrate Krishna Katha and we taste Krishna Prasad. That's how we purify the tongue. And we hear topics about Krishna. We hear about Krishna. We hear pastimes of Krishna. We hear pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. We hear pastimes of the devotees of the Lord, the pure devotees of the Lord. And all of these are purifying. So there's the smell. We smell incense, flowers that are offered to the deities. What am I forgetting? And seeing, we see the deities. Seeing the deities is seeing the Supreme Personality of God directly. And we can talk to them, and they can talk to us. I mean, when they talk to us, at least as far as I know, they don't You don't see them moving and talking, sound coming from them. But inwardly, and we could talk to them also inwardly. We don't even have to talk to them out loud. Just tell them how within our heart. And then they can respond. And then you realize that they're real. If you approach the deities as God, then they will reveal themselves to you. And if you approach them as grass or stone, then they will remain grass or stone. So it's how you approach them. So for the second class, which is pretty much all of us are in this class, we have to follow rules and regulations. And we will come to that stage. We have to have faith that we will come to that stage. I know for a fact, when I first started chanting Hare Krishna, when I'm mentioning your mind wanders, my mind was practically never, it was just always going like anything while I'm chanting, just talking. I'm trying not to listen, but my mind is constantly going. And I remember traveling from this temple. I was in New York. I didn't move into this temple yet, but I would go every day and help out at the press in New York printing. And we rented a truck, me and two devotees. They did it. I just went with them. And we had it filled with books that had to be bound. They didn't bind the books in Brooklyn, but they brought them to Nashua, New Hampshire, to a bindery to bind the books. After we dropped off the books, then we came here, not here, but in the Alston Temple, and we spent the night there. That's the first night I spent not the first night I spent at the temple. I spent at the temple. But when we were driving, they were discussing chanting Hare Krishna. And they were saying how it took Prabhupada, well, no, first they were saying, we have to hear everything, every round. We have to hear every mantra. We have to hear every word. We have to hear every syllable. And they're saying these things, talking to each other. And I'm just thinking, there's no hope for me. It's not possible. I can't. It's just, I'm trying, but I can't do anything. But then one of them said, Srila Prabhupada said it took him so many years before he could chant the perfect round. And when I heard that, I never said anything during that whole conversation. But when I heard that, I felt so relieved that, okay, there is hope. Even Prabhupada, at least he says, he didn't chant perfect rounds for so much time. So then I felt hope that, okay, I might be able to do it. And many years later, as I was chanting, somehow I remembered that situation I was in the past. And then I realized I've improved so much. I mean, I still have way long distance to go, but in compared to how my mind was then, my mind is so much more peaceful now than it was then. And I can only contribute to chanting Hare Krishna. So it does work. The process does work. So you may have doubts that it's not working. It is. It's gradual. Well, it doesn't have to be gradual, but generally it's gradual. Bhakti-Yoga is the purification of the senses. But by the practice of Bhakti-Yoga, these senses can become purified. In the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service or to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. So we use our present senses in Krishna's service, we get purified, and eventually we all I mean, I'm assuming if all the regular devotees have been around for a while, we all have some love for Krishna. We definitely have some love. Otherwise, why would we be doing this? We have some love, and Krishna certainly loves us. And those who may have some experience of Krishna's love and how he reciprocates. As I mentioned earlier, if you speak to the deities, they'll answer you or they'll reciprocate and let you know. So it's important to establish a relationship with your local deities, because they're not representing God, they are God. That Gopi Ballabha is Krishna. There's no difference. Radharani is Radharani. And they kindly came in this form so that we can render them some service. And they accept that service. And we get purified by them accepting that service. So this love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart. That's good to know. Everyone, people walking back and forth, they have this love of God dormant in their heart. And the Harinam party went out, and somehow that may bring out some of that dormant love of God by hearing the holy name of Krishna. So we have to try to, with ourselves and with others, we should know without a doubt that their love for Krishna is there somewhere in there. And we have to try to do what we can. Now, Prabhupada, that's what he did. He came here, he said, everyone, on the same poem that he wrote in Boston, everyone is in the mode of passion and ignorance. How are they going to understand this message? But if you want, you can make my words suitable for their understanding. And somehow or other, Krishna did that. He spoke and he attracted devotees. Westerners knew nothing about Krishna. But in their heart, Krishna, this love for Krishna is there. It's dormant, so we have to do what we can to get it out. And certainly we're doing right now what we can to get it out of our own hearts. And we should also try to help others because they're not happy. No one in this material world is happy. You can have and all kinds of, the only people who are happy, well, people who are totally and completely in ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. They may be happy, but that happiness is not going to last. And the devotees are happy because they're reestablishing their eternal relationship with Krishna. We're a spirit soul. We're not this material body. As a spirit soul, I'm in a foreign atmosphere. This material world is a foreign atmosphere, like a fish out of water. You give a fish out of water money, gold, nice food, cigars. You give him anything, it's not going to make that fish happy. He has to get back into his natural atmosphere, and that's a spiritual. I mean, that's for the fish. It's water. Then he's happy. But for us, we're spirit souls. Only in a spiritual atmosphere we're going to be happy. We're trying to find happiness, but if you see, there's so many very, very wealthy people who commit suicide. You don't commit suicide because you're happy. They're unhappy. It doesn't matter what you have. You can't be happy without God consciousness, without Krishna consciousness. There are other people in other religions, maybe a Christian who's genuinely following Jesus, and he could be happy, but he doesn't have as much knowledge, but he may be simple. Wait. So people making spiritual advancement in any bona fide process, there's some happiness there. But Krishna consciousness gives the highest. It's the highest happiness. It's the highest purification. But even amongst devotees, to be somebody who's following another process may be even more advanced than someone who's following Krishna consciousness because they're not taking to it very much. So it's up to the individual. But in Krishna consciousness, you can go completely back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. And that's what we should try to do. And this lifetime is very short. It may seem long, especially when you're young. When you get older, it seems shorter and shorter. I didn't look at this article, but there was an article about that. Why is it that when you're older, time goes by so fast? Maybe because you forget and then you remember again. Wow, I'm so much older now. But Krishna is dormant in everyone's heart. Just like Prabhupada says that his fire is dormant in wood. And you can actually chant mantras and bring the fire out. Or you could have friction and bring it out. There's different ways to bring out the fire. So similarly, there's different ways to bring out this love of God. Some people are more attracted to kirtan, some philosophy, some prasadam. Just give them prasadam. When nothing else works, give them prasadam. Prabhupada said prasadam is our secret weapon. You know, nobody knows. They're making, you know, people were so, I remember one man, he was an atheist. He was a really nice guy. And I used to get flowers from him. He really was nice. But he said he didn't believe in God, but he did tell me some things that he didn't know what it was, but he knew that if you really want something, you start doing and working, things happen so that it manifests. And he doesn't know, he doesn't want to say it's God, but he doesn't know how that happens. So some unusual things happen in this universe. You notice that. But anyway, I would give him prasadam and I tell him you get purified by eating it. And he would take the prasadam and go like this here to get rid of the spiritual stuff. And then he was joking, but he did do that. But it is spiritual, and you do make advancement just by eating it. And sometimes you meet someone who is just doesn't accept anything, and just argues and argues, and sometimes all you can do is just give them prashad, and that's it. We do what we can. So this love of God is now okay. It's now in a dormant state in everyone's heart, and there, love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant, natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. That's the whole process. Pretty simple. We have this love of God in our heart, and we just have to figure out how to get it out. And there's this process that works. And that's what we're following, the regulated principles of Bhakti-Yoga. Okay, so I have another paragraph, and then we'll take your questions after that. To practice the regulated principles of Bhakti-Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple and offer prayers and chant Hare Krishna, then collect flowers to offer to the deity. Cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasadam, and so on. This is just a quick summary of what you should do. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow. And one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. So when we're reading Prabhupada's books, this is hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from a pure devotee. Not just a pure devotee, an exceptionally pure devotee. No one has ever done what Srila Prabhupada has done. Spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. No one has done that. And he opened up temples everywhere. And everywhere except for, was it Antarctica? And then, what's his name? Casey Hunter. And they brought Prabhupada there too. So, what's his name? Trivikram, yeah. So they went to the only continent that Prabhupada didn't go to preach it. So this practice can help anyone rise to the level of love of God. And then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. So you're sure to go back home, back to Godhead. You just follow the process. That's all. Not that, as Prabhupada would say in Bhakti-Yoga, wrote the book quoting Prabhupada, what is the difficulty? What is it? We really, it's not difficult. We hear and we chant about Krishna. We eat prasadam. We eat sometimes fried food that tastes really good. We eat sugar. We eat whatever. But so we eat nice food stuff, and we have good association, really good association. I remember going to the Motor Vehicle Bureau, and I'm seeing all these people at the Motor Vehicle Bureau, and I was thinking, I'm really happy that I have devotees to associate with. They're just so nice compared to these. I mean, you could see, Prabhupada said, the face is an index to the mind. I was just looking at people's faces, and I didn't want to really have anything to do. Not the people working it, just the people in the building. I don't know how normal people go to the motor vehicle, because I didn't see anybody when I. So this practice of Bhakti-Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of a spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. So we have to have faith. This will work. It does work. It is working. And we can even see it with other people who have become purified by this process. You know, it's not like they were always, if you hear about their backgrounds, you may see that they were pretty bad in, in sense gratification. And now they've given it up and they're happy and satisfied. So it's a process and it works. Now, you still remember your question?
Yeah, so chanting the holy name, waking the Lord love, Krishna in everybody's heart. So how come when we're on Harinam, sometimes we like to get angry with us?
Yeah, well, Srila Prabhupada says you can tell when you're on Harinam and the people go by and they hold their ears. He said you can tell the demons who hold their ears because they can't even hear it. They just hate Krishna so much. And they'll eventually get purified, but we keep trying. But why? Because they're against Krishna. You know, why is it that Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago and there were so many demons? They were killing babies, all the babies. It's like, how bad can you be? And you know, Krishna came to change this. He killed all these demons. He made arrangements so that they're all killed. So there are demons. But if they get killed by Krishna, they get purified. So there's hope.
Like today, we passed by a group of Christians. They just got so angry.
Well, they're probably not Christians. They're just, you know, Christians wouldn't do that. Not real Christians.
That was like one of the fights.
Really? So what were your reactions? I had one time I was distributing books inside of a mall or a store. I don't remember. We go inside stores, big stores. But I sold one to some Christian, and I told them about something about that. You know, I don't remember what I said, but I indicated that I also accepted Jesus. So then later, this guy was a big, really strong guy. I mean, really strong. And he got me my arms like this. And he lifted me up. And I couldn't even move because of my arm. And he said, I thought you said you believe in Jesus. And I said, I do believe in Jesus. I thought you said you believe in Jesus. He said, I do. I said, then why don't you turn the other cheek? And then he put me down. Krishna helped me out there. So they're not, you know, at least he was a real Christian, because when you pointed it out to him how he's supposed to behave, he did. But these people are not so much Christians. Okay, someone else, question? Okay.
It reminded me of most of us here, and you see your brother and very dear to you. And once he told me that before he became a devotee, he was working as a carpenter, and he saw devotees walking by the garden, and he said, I was wearing all the work, and now he's like, you know, They were big devotees in the sense of we don't really know whether it's
Right.
really deep or. I mean, I myself had experience once. I remember many years ago, just to freaking books, and someone came and was very angry. He was talking to me about half an hour. It was just begging Krishna, go away, so let me distribute the books. And half hour later, he's like, how much is Bhagavad-Gita?
Wow.
In those years, Bhagavad-Gita was in my country where it was like monthly salary.
Wow.
So you never know.
Wow. Yeah. We got a couple of more minutes. Any other questions, comments? I'd just like to say about Jesus, because I was a Catholic. I wasn't religious, but then I actually got to a point where I really started thinking about my life. And then after, from birth to 5, I didn't remember. Then I did this and this and this. Then in the future, I'm going to do this and this and this. Then I'm going to have kids, and then I'll have grandkids, and then I'm going to die. And I thought, why go through all that trouble? Just die. If that's all there is, I'll just die now, because it doesn't make sense. And I thought there has to be more to life than this. So the next day I talked to a friend who was a nice Christian. It wasn't a Catholic. I don't even know what it was. But he got me a New Testament. I started reading. I started realizing about Jesus, how Jesus is real. And I started following Jesus. I didn't belong to any church, and I spent the whole year. But I also read where through Jesus you come to the Father. And I thought all these Christians just stop at Jesus. They don't go to the Father. But he wants us to go to the Father. So I kept searching. So it was Jesus that brought me to Krishna. So I do accept Jesus. I wasn't lying to the guy, but it was true. Because he's a pure devotee. He's given his life for Krishna. Okay, I don't know, we don't have much time. Anyone question, comment? Okay, so let's offer our basics. Let's do. Okay, we got 1 minute. I just want to read this one verse from the it's in the Bhakti-Rasa Sindhu, but it's quoted from the Padma Purana. Smartavya Satatam Vishnu Vishmartavya Najatuchit Sarve Vidi Niseda Sura Etayor Eva Kinkara. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never be forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. So all the rules and everything in the Shastras should be the servants of always remember Krishna and never forget. And he's the source of Vishnu. So this is kind of what we were saying also in this verse. And this is the Padma Purana. So some people may not accept Bhagavad Gita, but they accept the Vedas and accept the Puranas. Anyway, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Acharya Shila Haridas Thakur. Shivasati Gaurav Shri Radha Krishna Nath Shama Radha Ki Vrindavan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Angamai Ki Jai Maharani Ki Jai Shri Radha Gopi Baba Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai Shri Boni Thai Ki Jai Amade Kamat Ki Jai All glories to some of the Lord. All glories to some of the Lord. All glories to
Namaste Narayana. Namaste Narayana.
Hare Krishna, Gauri. Thank you for coming for the Sunday Peace program this weekend. We'd like to take this opportunity to welcome a very special guest here, His Grace Pyari Mohan Prabhu. He is a temple president of Nagpur, and he is also a regional secretary of this country. For those who also don't know, he's also our founder Acharya Sri Prabhupada disciple. Let's welcome His Grace Pyari Mohan Prabhu to the round of applause. We also like to thank our three devotees for their donations. Kaushik Srinivasan, Sandesh Dutt, Rahul Damisha, Olga Zeskova. So these devotees are donated for this program. We have Yugo Prashadam Bobby. We'd like everyone to take one of the. Thank you again, Hare Krishna.
Very good. Well, okay, this goes anyway. This goes somewhere. Wait, wait. Can you just give it to everyone? But not eat the rest of it. For your name. Oh. Okay, very good. Oh. Oh. Yeah, yeah. Come on. Oh, did you do the service? Very good. This will be your regular service. Huh? Every Sunday you want to do it? Yeah, very good. You like it? Okay. Very good. Very good. Yes. Very good. Yeah. Huh? Come on. Okay. Very good. Bukan. Mahal deh. You need a cloth, I'll give up.
Vishnu, don't touch them. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Come on, very well. Come on, of course you will become very big person. You will be great personality. Gopi Vallabha.
Gopi Vallabha. Thank you very much. যে করছে
Mhm. Yeah, wait. Yeah, I'll finish this. Very. Vivo.
Goal.
All done? Come on. Fast. Vivo. Done. Vivo. Come on. Very
Yes, she was in Canada. Yeah. I see them like now. Yeah. Yeah. And then
Huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I am going to close now. Very quickly. Oh, आप लोग कहाँ से? Very good. Shri Radha Gopi Vallabh ki. Shri Radha Gopi Vallabh ki. Shri Radha Gopi Vallabh ki. Thank you very much. Let us flower right now. Very well. Together.